Hi folks, this is Metal Trials, and today we are, well, not exactly at the Wacken, but close to the Wacken Open Air 2013, and today we're talking to...
Ken Hammer.
From?
Pretty Maids.
Right, how you doing?
I'm fine. Yeah, well, after yesterday where it was so awfully hot, I mean, it's nice that the weather's chilled down a little bit. It was, I mean, ridiculously hot yesterday.
Clouds coming up, right?
Yeah, which I think is good for the festival, as long as it's not raining. I mean, a little cloudy weather is a lot better than too much sun.
I remember, like, last Wacken, last year was all, like, drowning in the water. It was terrible. Like,
that was terrible as well. There's got to be something in between. Like, this is good, I think, for a festival.
I think it's actually one of the hottest Wackens, following the wettest Wackens ever.
Yeah, well, I guess it's yin and yang, night and day, isn't it?
I like festivals.
I like it. It's good because you can get to play for a lot of people that you wouldn't normally do at your own shows, and maybe you can draw a few people here and there to come to your own shows later. So I think it's really good.
Do you actually see the people that are coming there that don't already know your music, you know, like, at first maybe just reserved or whatever, and then after some time getting into the music?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping, you know. And especially Wacken, which is like a big crowd, and there's a lot of people there who might not go to a Pretty Maids show, but maybe they will now, hopefully.
So your last time at Wacken was like, I think, 10 or 11 years ago, right? How's it grown?
Since the 80s, I mean, there was a big gap there in the 90s and the 2000. The whole hard rock and heavy metal scene has grown back to the big stage as it was in the 80s, where it was really big, you know, it was real big in the 80s. But I think now it's just come back more powerful and stronger than ever, which shows that the music is still there and the music is still good and people still like it, you know, which I think is very, very good.
So do you see that some kind of, let's say, revival of the old hard rock and heavy metal?
Well, probably, yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, because I don't think it's ever been gone, really. It's not been totally gone, but it's had more difficult terms.
Wasn't so much in the focus anymore.
No, but I mean, now I think it's back with full power.
Well, there are a lot of bands that are, like, orienting themselves on these old bands. You know, we had an interview with Alpha Tiger, for example. They're like in the, well, I think trying to work from this old glam metal idea, and they're very young bands that are trying to do the old music, you know. Do you think that's actually good, or can a young band actually play music in the old style, or is it more like a new interpretation of it?
Well, I think they could do that. I think younger bands today it must have a more difficult time, because at least when we started out in the 80s, there was, you could sell albums, you know. Now selling albums is like gone, you know. You don't. I mean, what you do now, you record a download. Yeah. That's what we do, you know. We know people don't buy CDs and albums. I mean, CD is almost dead as well, you know. So I think it must be pretty hard for new bands to get their music out. I mean, unless you want to do it without making any kind of money at all. But I mean, I think it's great that a lot of bands are doing it, but I think it must be very difficult for them.
I think there's some kind of revival of the old vinyl plates, you know.
Oh yeah, we've seen that grow as well, because people tend to go back to, I mean, they want some of the old stuff. I mean, and I can understand that, because I mean, back then when you got a record, you know, you had a big cover and you can see everything, and you know, it was just like, different, you know.
Some kind of collector's item, you know.
Exactly. That's why I think with all the download thing, I think it's a shame, because if you spend a lot of money making a great cover and you get a download, and if you buy an album on iTunes, for instance, you don't get all the credit list and all the lyrics and all that, which I think is a shame. If you buy an album on iTunes, for instance, you should still get all the same things. If people bought a CD, I don't get why they don't get all the covers and the photos and whatever. I can understand why it's so hard for people, because you can buy an album and be like a good law-abiding citizen, or you can just press one button and you can download illegal. I mean, I can understand why the whole record industry is a bit difficult.
So there are some people that who say actually that that's a good development, because they say that in the old days, where the people sold their albums, was like the labels getting the money, and today it's more like the bands have to get the people to the shows, where the band gets the money but not the labels.
Well, you still don't make today. I mean, it's very difficult to make money out of selling albums, which it's still the labels that make the money. If you release an album, it's still the label that makes the money more than it's the band that makes the money, which I still think is a bit of... If you take, for instance, at Spotify, you know, the artists get paid like nothing. As a user of Spotify, I think it's great, but as an artist, I don't know if I like it. But I think it's going to happen. If stuff like...
Planes come by?
It's my flight home.
You're still stuck here with us.
But what I think is going to happen with is that most bands in the future don't even need a record label. What should you do with a record label? I mean, they just put out an album and then take all the money. But if you can get on Spotify and on iTunes, why don't you just do it yourself?
Some people say that the main reason for a label to exist, you know, is to, let's say, give the band the money to actually record it. And then...
Yeah, I can understand that, but almost like 50% of all musicians got their own home studio now. Yeah. Because you can actually sit in a small apartment and record the whole thing. Maybe not the drums, but pretty much everything else you can record at home. Which it's also, I think it's a shame, because in the old days where everybody met up in the studio, hanging there and doing the whole thing, it's kind of like a social thing, which was a nice part of being in a band. So when everybody's kind of like doing their own thing at home, it's just a bit boring and a bit sad.
That's quite interesting. You know, you have this phenomenon like the virtual bands on YouTube, for example. There's people all over the globe. Everybody records his own sound, drums, whatever, and they just put it together, and that's the whole song, actually.
It's a weird thing because I have a friend in Sweden who plays in a band. I can't remember what the band's called, but anyway, it's not Europe now. They've Constantine or someone, I can't remember what they're called, but anyway, they've done 2 albums, but they've never met. Never ever. They've never ever met. They've just done it over the net and via whatever kind of different things. They've actually never been together, and they've done 2 albums. I find that very strange.
Not so much of a band, right?
No, but it's just another way of doing it. I mean, that thing could never have happened in the 80s, for instance. I mean, you have to hook up and be in a rehearsal room and play together. But so for me, that they actually done 2 entire albums without even seeing each other. It's very strange for me.
We had a talk with Francis Rossi, for example, and he said that, well, the music gets more and more plain, you know, all this modern music is just electronic, computer-generated or whatever, and he's afraid that the actual musicians may die out sometime. Basically just a singer and a computer on a stage.
Yeah, well, I still think they got a bit of a difficulties trying to make guitars as well. I mean, drums and bass, they're definitely in the danger zone, I would say. But if you're a keyboard player, I guess you have that, you can do some of that stuff. But vocals and guitars, definitely vocals. Maybe guitars is going to be in the danger zone sooner or later, I don't know. But I mean, I hope not. I mean, to be honest, I think there's always be room. Of course, the times are changing. I think people try to do different things. But in general, I think there will always be room for real musicians. I mean, you still can copy a live concert, you know? Thank God.
Right. So bands are still doing live records, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, if you look at the pop scene, for example, there are a lot of live records where the people actually say, well, it's such a clean sound, you know, that they're thinking about maybe they recorded this in the studio and just added some crowd noise. What do you think about a band who does that?
Well, that's been going on since, like, Judas Priest released Unleashed in the East, you know? So, I mean, everybody's been talking, was that ever a live album? And I remember that. So, I mean, this is just, I mean, I think there's a lot of live albums out there that's never been live at all. It's just been recorded and then added some kind of audience, and well, it's like cheating, isn't it? I think it's like cheating. But a lot of people don't care about that. But I mean, if you look at it, if it comes to all kind of live albums, everybody's been fixing small things here and there in the studio to make it sound better. So a real live album, I think it's many, many years ago since that existed.
It's more like a bootleg then, right?
Yeah, oh, it is. With bootlegs, they're like the real thing. That's why they sound so bad. That's why you don't want it, because they sound like crap, you know. You'd rather have people take their songs to go into the studio and fix them up a little bit so it sounds decent, you know, because if you get a bootleg, even if it's a great bootleg, still sounds bad. Yeah. Because that's how band sounds. Like shit. All of us.
Too much bass most of the time.
Yeah.
There's these German band, you know, the Ärzte, for example. What they're doing is, I think it's quite interesting. First of all, they have a fan website where they collect all the bootlegs that are floating around for free download. And the band says it's okay. We don't allow people to record our concerts, but if they do it anyway, everybody should have it for free so nobody can sell it and get money out of us, you know?
So if it's out there, they might as well take advantage of it. That's how it is. All right, yeah, well, that makes sense, because, I mean, it will be out there, you know. There's a guy, actually, sent me a message on Facebook, said he recorded the entire Wacken show if I want it on DVD. And this was like this morning at 7:15. We played yesterday. Yeah. I mean, this is how fast everything goes, you know?
Records everything, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing really you could do about it. I'd rather not have all these things out there because of the quality. Because we would rather try to deliver as good quality as we possibly can. But you cannot control it anymore. And even if it's illegal, it's legal. Nobody cares about it, you know? But back in the 80s, you had record companies and lawyers, and everybody was, who tried to follow these people and stop them, and which was kind of ridiculous too. But now it's just like nobody cares.
Right. Just some major labels, you know, like doing mass suing or whatever, and the rest, it's, well, go.
Exactly.
So what do you say is your point for when you say, when you want quality? Is it sometimes hard to find the point where you say, well, good is good enough?
No. It's always easy because you run out of money. And that's when it's good enough, you know. When you don't have any money left, that's how it is. You know?
That's good.
But no, but of course, I mean, there has to be a certain standard, I think. And if you work with the right people, you know that standard will be there soon in the process. So you have an idea how the end outcome will be. But yeah. That's pretty much because you mean we've been doing this for so many years now that we have a pretty good idea how we want it to sound and how we get that sound. I mean, we've done, I don't know, 15 albums or something like that, you know, so it does give you a little experience. So while I say it, that does give you a little experience.
Next flight home.
Yeah, I guess I didn't make the other one.
Yeah, as you say, quality.
Exactly, but the weird thing, when we did a video, for instance, for Little Drops of Heaven, this guy was going to come and shoot the video, and I was expecting like a full truck with cranes and shit and all kinds of, and he showed up with a camera and a stand. And I said, great.
These small little camcorders.
Camera and all the other guys, and says, this is it.
Right.
I said, get the fuck out of here, you know? I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And he did a great video with a fucking camera. I mean, that was pretty unbelievable. I could not imagine that. I mean, even when we did the video for Mother of All Lies, same guy who did it, by the way, a guy called Thomas Scherer. Same thing, just a camera. Yeah. And then just some good editing, and I was very impressed by that. That's like another one of the new things, you know? When you think people are taking photos, they're actually recording the whole thing.
That's actually interesting. I could stand on a concert photography, for example. I could just stand there and record the whole concert. Nobody would notice.
No. Back in the old days when you had your microphones and everything to record in stereo. And
well, was it a concert where they recorded for DVD and there were like 5 people all with their small little camcorders, and the output was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this is like, the quality is outstanding. It's really, really good.
Next thing you can do on your own, you know.
Yeah, sooner or later you'll do your own videos. Well, just walk around with your iPhone.
Yeah.
I guess.
For example.
Yeah.
How is it for a musician to record a video? I mean, is it strange? I mean, is it hard to be...
Of course it is. I mean, it's like acting. Right. I mean, I'm a fucking guitar player. I can count to 4, you know. Now all of a sudden do this and do that and stand like this and hey and wave and talk and...
Everything at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Multitasking major. But I mean, it's also, it's become a part of it that you have to... I mean, thank God, in the 80s, if you look at all the videos, they were all like stories where you have to be a bit of an actor as well. And I mean, most musicians are really good actors, aren't they? You know. But I mean, it's thank God. I mean, most of our videos has been pretty plain and simple, straightforward, plain.
I think that's something that a lot of people complain about heavy metal music videos. You know, when compared to like pop music or whatever, it's basically most of the time just showing the band playing.
Well, isn't that what music's all about?
I think in the metal scene, yes, but in other scenes, people might want to be, like I said, entertained. You know.
Yeah, but we're not in the other business.
Right.
You know, we're on the metal scene. That's why we do it this way. If you look at like some of the country videos, for instance, they're all big stories and acting. I mean, some of the videos with a guy called Toby Keith is more. It's like a small movie, more than it's about the song. But he's so good at it because it becomes funny because he's a quite funny guy and the videos are very funny, I think. But if you're going to do videos like that, for instance, it's going to cost a fucking fortune and it's ridiculous. And I mean, they don't record with a camera like that. They still have the whole shebang, you know.
No lighting system or whatever.
Everything, you know, like 20 guys on the set, and we can't afford that anymore.
In general, I mean, is it a good idea for a metal band to record a video at all? I mean, it's not like heavy metal gets that much airtime, especially in Germany, no airtime, you know.
Trust me, we've talked about that many times because is it really worth it? You should tell me because I really don't know. But I would like to think it's worth it because there's still a few shows here and there where they'll show it. Or at least you can still make it for YouTube.
Yeah, true.
Which is like our new MTV, isn't it?
Yeah, so since they're just playing SpongeBob all the time.
Yeah, but and you can find pretty much everything there, you know.
Used to.
I mean, back in the old days, I remember when MTV was a music television. Right. That's over, man. Now it's all reality programs about people getting drunk and do stupid things. I see. Just on TV. I mean, at least we other guys try to keep it a little private. Right. I keep my reality life for myself.
Is it hard to do that? I mean, we talked to, you know, Lordi, of course. I had a talk with him like 2 or 3 months ago. I find it amazing that even though he won the Eurovision Song Contest, he managed to keep his private life completely out of the media for 10 years. It's amazing.
Well, that's because they still wear that outfit. Yeah. So it kind of makes them. I mean, if them in private without all the gear on is not Lordi as you think of them. You know, it's like Kiss without the makeup. You know,
like they're doing it today.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. But
Kiss Unplugged.
Kiss Unplugged. Kiss on cruise. Kiss on the moon. Okay. But he's not that. Maybe people don't find it that interesting if he's not wearing all the gear because that whole outfit that Lordi's got is a part of their image. You know, which is kind of cool because they can hide behind that and they can go home and take off all the equipment and be private.
Nobody knows who they are.
Exactly. That was like Kiss in the 70s. Nobody knew who they were and it was like big, ooh, who are they really, you know?
It's very plastic. You can walk down the street without everybody coming, whoa, you're this and that guy.
I remember that. I mean, I was a member of the Kiss Army back in 1977. I remember because I got a letter when I joined the Kiss Army that I was the first member they had in Denmark. I found that very interesting. a bit sad that I should have kept that letter. I mean, I don't know where it is now. It would have been kind of fun to have today. Yeah.
Somewhere upstairs.
Yeah. Well, it's probably somewhere.
So as you say there, for a band it's very important to have this image, you know. We had to talk with some other guys at the Wacken, and they say, well, like for example, Sabaton, for example, or Powerwolf, all these newer bands who have these paint image, maybe in the sense of Kiss, for example. Can you have a unique band picture without something that makes you special, be it in a maybe hilarious way?
I still think there's a lot of good bands out there who don't need the image. I mean, I like a band like Shinedown, but I think they're very, very good. They don't need that kind of image. They're quite normal, I mean, looking. But it works for some, and for others it don't. I mean, it's also got something to do with what kind of music you're playing, I think. I mean, it wouldn't work with all kinds of bands, I think. I mean, I couldn't see Nickelback in a Lordy outfit, for instance. I mean, that would be
interesting.
It would be very interesting, absolutely. But, you know, it depends on what kind of music. Sometimes the image creates the music more than the other way around. Right. You know? But...
Rammstein.
I love Rammstein. That whole image thing, and they sing in German, it's just perfect. I mean, that's one of those bands that I think it's really... I don't know, it just seems like to me everything fits together perfectly.
It's epic, but I think if they were to do like a completely unplugged show with all the pyrotechnics and all that, I think there would be a really important part missing, you know?
Yeah, but who wants to hear Rammstein unplugged?
That's it. I doubt you can sing.
Not me, man, because they are what they are. And some bands, we've been asked so many times, and can you, if you do a radio show, for instance, can you play a few songs acoustic? We could probably, with the songs that we've been writing, find some songs that we could play unplugged. But it's not all songs that are suited to be played unplugged. A song like Future World, I don't think we can play that unplugged, you know? It wouldn't sound good. And a lot of bands can't do that, which I can understand because they were not written to be played on acoustic guitar. They were written to be played with a lot of volume and a lot of gain, you know?
Especially in the progressive.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you talk about Shinedown, you know, I think they are definitely doing amazing music, but well, they were like a little bit bashed by a lot of fans for using, you know, not backing vocals, for using...
And they're using backing tracks when they're recording because they have like the other guitar players there, or maybe some background vocals and stuff. But I mean, come on.
Especially the main singer, you know, when he gets in the chorus on the high tones, he can't hear. They're just using the stuff from the album.
Again, is it cheating or is it just development?
But who wants to go to a show to hear the album?
I would. Well, they're still there playing. Some of it might not be totally live, but I mean, I don't know. It's pretty hard to say. Of course, I would prefer it to be totally live. I mean, but some bands, you know, we would do so many things in the studio that if you really want to make that sound come out live, you can't actually do it unless you're like 12 guys in the band, and nobody can afford that anymore. I tell you that. So, yeah, it's a difficult question because, I mean, the obvious answer would be no. But when I think about it, yeah, well, because I mean, we don't cheat in Pretty Maids. We've never done any of that stuff. Maybe we should. Maybe that's why we sound so much worse than all the others. I don't know.
Maybe. No, never know.
It's actually live. It's live.
Can't hide the crap, right?
No, exactly. But it's an interesting thought, you know.
I think especially with Shinedown, one major point is they've done really exhausting touring, you know, like with an album like 3 years in a row. I think they were like 2 or 3 times in Germany, in our city alone. Yeah. And well, if you hear his voice, he's actually shredding it to pieces every time. So I think the other option would be to leave out 70% of the shows.
Now, and they have to move on. That's how. If they disappear for a year, there's another band that's going to take their place, and that's unfortunately how it is. But I like the albums. I like the songs. I think the songs are really good. Yeah, it's great songs.
Oh, I saw the farewell tour of Meatloaf, and it was like another one. As they say, the final one. The point is...
The final one again, it's called.
The final one again. Yeah, well, he always said he wanted to die on stage, you know.
He probably will.
He probably will if he continues to. However, I saw this show, you know, and it was such a sorry tale. He was like transposing every single chorus 2 octaves down. He couldn't hit a single note. He was like dying on the microphone. Do you think that's an adequate way to say goodbye to your fans?
I think it's a shame. I mean, even back, I remember when Bad Out of Hell came out, and even the first tour, he couldn't sing live. I think he sang great in the studio. Bad Out of Hell is one of the best albums. I mean, one of my favorite albums, really. Fantastic album. But I mean, I think live, he's never actually been able to pull it off, ever. And it's just got worse and worse. If you hear him, he played in Horsensville, in my hometown where I lived. Oh, man, that was sad to see. It was sad to see. It made me feel,
Sick horse in the ring.
Thing now, sometimes when I hear Paul Stanley, it's the same thing. I'm a huge Kiss fan, always been. But when I hear him sing these days, I saw him at Sweden Rock. Oh man, it made me feel so sad because he was nowhere near the Paul Stanley that I know of, grown up with.
It's always hard if you have people like that who have inspired whole generations, you know, and they're just drowning.
Simmons were really good. I guess he kind of helped him out and took over where Paul Stanley had I don't know if he had a day off or it was just a throat thing, but I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about the whole tour. But it was just sad because, I mean, I always liked him. I always thought he was better. So...
Bring you down to earth, right?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, but... Yeah.
Sixth flight home.
I guess I'm going to catch one.
Definitely. Catch one, definitely. Yeah. He always played the songs in a very different way when compared to the album version. He did unplugged versions or changed something or whatever. And when the people ask him, he always said, well, why should I play the way it's on the album? If people want to hear this, they just buy the album and put it in a CD player. So he always tried to perform in a whole different way than on the album. Do you think that's a good idea, or do the people actually expect to hear what's on the album?
I would. If I go to a show, I would like to hear the songs that I know, the way that I know them, instead of a totally different version because they can't pull it off live. But that's just my opinion. I'd like to hear the way that I know the songs.
So I think it might be an excuse for not being able to.
I have no idea what they think, but I mean, you know how it is. If you buy an album, you'll listen to a song home, you get to know it, and you can sing along to it. And if you go to a show and it's totally different, it's like, this is not the song that I know.
Maybe rather like a special version or so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can do that once in a while and get away with it, I think. But on a concert level and on a tour, I would like to hear the songs that I know. It's just me.
Right. So, generally, what's up next for the band and what can the fans expect?
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start touring in September.
Great.
And tour September, October, November, December. So I guess we'll be pretty busy.
Do you think a band should develop their sound, or should they rather stay to their roots?
I don't know, because we did that in the 90s and the 2000s, and nobody paid attention to it. Then we changed it slightly. Still the same, pretty much the same songs, I think. But now everybody thinks it's good. So, I mean, the sound changed a little bit, and for the better, absolutely. But that's... I don't know. It's because sometimes it all depends on how the album comes out. Because you can although pull the card, or they should have stayed like the way they were, or you can say, why don't they change? I mean, for instance, I would love to hear a band like Iron Maiden with the sound of, for instance, Shinedown. I would love to hear that. Like a really great production, sound totally different. I would love to hear that because I mean, Iron Maiden, for instance, have been sounding like Iron Maiden did since the 80s, pretty much. That's just an example of how I would love. I still like the songs. It's nothing. It's just the sound. I would love to hear them just sound a little different.
So, do you think that we are today, or maybe also in the past, living in a society where it's not really important what you can, but rather that you're at the right place at the right time?
Well, turn on your TV, man. Yeah. It's like all reality stars. People are getting known for nothing. It's just a matter of they just get known for stupid things. And I don't know why everybody wants to be famous. I don't understand that. Never been my purpose in life. Never, ever. I've never thought about being famous. I never thought about money. I always just like to play music, seriously. Of course, the older I get, the more interest I focus on making a living. Of course, I have to. I mean, I have got a lot of kids and stuff, and house to pay and shit. But I have never understood why people want to be famous, just for the sake of being famous. Never understood that.
Yes, there's no good interview without a bit of Bieber bashing, right?
No, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Well then, thanks for taking the time for the interview.
Thank you very much, man. Talk to you later, man. Been fantastic.
All the best for the future shows, for future albums, for whatever may come.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
And I might say a few fun words to the fans out there.
Well, I hope to see all you guys out there when the tour kicks off in September. We'll be hitting pretty much most of our Europe, Germany, Spain, England, well, a lot of countries I can't remember. But I hope to see you out there. Take good care. Peace, man.
Cheers.